guys. If you've already been here before, then welcome back. Thanks for spending some more time with your boy. And today we're going to talk about basketball movies. I have a bunch in my collection. The NBA Finals are going on right now if you're watching it the day it comes out. So I thought it'd be a good idea to talk basketball movies. Um, I'm going to rank all of the ones that I have in my collection. Before I get to those, though, I do want to talk about a couple of movies that I don't have. I'm not going to talk about a bunch of those, just a couple that I don't have. One is The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. A lot of you probably scratching your head right now going, what is that? That is a movie I grew up with, and it came out in the 70s. Dr. J was the star, and it was about a whole team of basketball players, and they decided that the best way to win was to hire a psychic, and the psychic told them that they should get all Pisces on the team. Not making it up, but it sounds crazy. It's not the greatest movie in this world, but it's one I love because I grew up with it. And the other one I want to talk about is Hoop Dreams. Hoop Dreams is a documentary. It's one of the greatest documentaries ever made as far as I'm concerned. I just don't have it in my collection just yet, but I didn't want to go the whole video without recognizing that movie. So I'm gonna get into one more movie that I do have, but is not being ranked, and that is Uncut Gems. This is the Adam Sandler movie, came out a few years ago. I don't consider it a basketball movie per se because there's no basketball actually in the movie, but it does revolve around basketball. He's a gambling addict and he's betting on basketball, and there are some basketball stars in the movie, Kevin Garnett mainly, and so the whole movie revolves around him betting on the NBA. But there's not really much basketball actually in it. That's not about a basketball player, so I didn't want to rank that movie. So right now I'm going to get into the movies that I am going to rank, and I'm going to make some of you mad right off the bat as soon as I get started. So I have 15 basketball movies here, so we're going to go 15 through 1. And like I said, I'm going to upset some folks right away because my number 15 is none other than Space Jam, the original Space Jam. Guys, I'm sorry. I love Mike. This is not a good movie. He's a terrible actor. The jokes, they're okay. Some of them is okay with Bugs Bunny and all the rest of the characters there. But it just I just didn't really enjoy it. And part of the problem is probably me because I didn't see it back when it came out. I saw this just last year for the first time. So as an adult, it's different. It's just not as fun as I thought it was going to be. So that's going to be my number 15. In number 14th spot is a movie I enjoy a little bit better. I wouldn't say this is a bad movie. This is a pretty good movie. It's a pretty good rom-com. This is Just Right. It stars Queen Latifah and Common. Common is a basketball star. He gets injured. Queen Latifah is hired to nurse him back to health, essentially, and in rom-com fashion, you know what happens after that. So it's a pretty good watch. It's nothing that I would say is a great movie, but I don't mind watching that one at all. Next up in number 13 is Like Mike. Like Mike is the one I know a lot of kids have a soft spot for. I don't. I was an adult when it came out. My kids have a soft spot for it. They enjoy it, so I don't mind keeping it around in the collection. It's a pretty fun movie. It's dumb, but I don't mind it. It's a pretty fun movie to watch. At number 12 is Disney's going to get into the game here, and this movie is called Glory Road. It's about the first team to win the NCAA championship with an all-black starting lineup. I think it's Western Kentucky. I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden right now. But yeah, and all of the trials and tribulations they went through that year winning the tournament, and this is their coach. It's a pretty good movie, but it is in true Disney fashion. It's really safe. It plays everything as safe as possible. Doesn't really take any risks, but it does the job. So it's not a bad watch. And it's definitely a story that needs to be told. So it's one that you probably should see at least once, even if it's not the greatest movie in the world. Sorry for the noise, guys. I had some notes taped to each one of these to remind myself of the number that I'm on, and we're making a little bit of noise with those. But let's move into number 11, and this one is More Than a Game. This is a documentary about LeBron James. This came out in 2009, so this was, I think, just before, a little before he left Cleveland for the first time. So he was still fairly young in his NBA career. Uh, this actually goes back to high school when he first became a high school phenomenon and all the things that went on there. And this is mostly about his high school years. This is pretty good to watch, especially if you're a LeBron James fan. But even if you're not, it's a good story. It's just a good human story, and watching him rise from where he came from to where he is now, or at least where he was back in 2009. Now we can move into the top 10, and number 10 is Coach Carter. Coach Carter is Samuel L. Jackson. He plays Coach Carter, and he goes into the inner city and coaches a team of guys who are not expected to do anything, having a rough time in life. You know that old story. You know, like in a lot of other movies, it just so happens that he's the coach in this one. He makes the movie. He makes it what it is. The story's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but it's a good watch. At number 9 is a movie that I really enjoyed. I was really surprised by. I didn't think it was going to be any good, but I watched it and I had a ball laughing at it, and that is my number 9. That's Uncle Drew. It stars NBA player Kyrie Irving, who's still playing, and that's him in all the makeup and playing the old man in the middle. If you remember the Uncle Drew commercials that led to the movie, and he turned out to be a better actor than I expected. He did carry the movie for the whole movie, and I was really surprised by that pleasantly. And of course, all the basketball stuff came easy to him, and he had some other former NBA players in there, and WNBA players, and they all did the job, and it was a funny movie. It was really I had a blast watching it. Going to number 8, another movie I always have a blast watching, and it's one that comes from my childhood, and his other movie that came out that year is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's probably one of your all-time favorite movies, and that one is Back to the Future. This came out the same year, and I like it a lot also. This is Teen Wolf. Michael J. Fox plays a high school kid who turns into a werewolf right on the basketball court. He's on the basketball team. They're terrible. He turns into, they call it wolfing out in the movie. He suddenly turns into a werewolf, and all of a sudden he's a great basketball player and gets all sorts of fame and most popular kid in school and those sorts of things. So it's a really fun movie. I really have a good time watching it. I've probably seen that more than any movie in this stack because it's just that fun for me. Going to number 7 is a movie that is based on a true story, so completely opposite of werewolves. We're going to a true story. This one is Rebound, the story of Earl the Goat Manigault. The Goat, excuse me, I mispronounced it, but Earl the Goat Manigault, street ball legend, playground legend in New York, where I grew up. He was once said to be able to jump up on and grab a quarter from the top of a backboard. I don't know if that ever actually happened, but this is the story. His story. Went to college. He was highly recruited by colleges, and he was a prospect. A lot of people thought he should have been in the NBA. Fell on some hard times, but it's a really good movie. One of Don Cheadle's earlier movies. If you haven't seen that one, check it out. It's Rebound. A lot of people haven't heard of it. A lot of people have heard of the other Rebound. I think that one is. Can't remember if that's Martin Lawrence. I think is in that one. He's coaching a bunch of girls team. I don't have that one, but this one came way before that one. Number 6 is a movie a lot of you are gonna think is kind of low. So, and that's okay with me. I don't think it's. I struggled with where to place it. I could have placed it here. I could have placed it higher up, maybe as high as 2. I even could have dropped it back a couple of spots when I was going through this, but I decided to settle on number 6 for Hoosiers. It's basically Rocky on the basketball court, with Michael Chitwood being the star player. I think that's his name. Is it Michael? I think it's Michael Chitwood is the star player. Gene Hackman is the coach, and he gets this team of nobodies and rallies them up, tries to get them to win the high school championship. So I really have a good time with that one. Haven't seen it in a few years though. Moving on to number five. This one is a hood classic, as they say. Saw this years ago, back when it first came out, and this was always a good time. Tupac is one is the bad guy here. He's not a ball player, but there are lots of ball players in here. Above the Rim is the movie, and this guy right here next to Tupac, Leon, he makes the movie. He's just you got to see what he does if you haven't seen it. Basically, Tupac is the local gangster, and he's trying to fix the basketball games, make some money. And this is the phenom in the area, Dwayne, played by Dwayne Martin, and Tupac recruits him to work for him, to come play for him, and then the story goes from there. So Above the Rim, if you haven't seen it, go ahead and check that one out. The next one is one most of you probably have checked out. It's always near the top of these basketball lists, and this one is White Men Can't Jump. And I went and saw this in theaters way back when it came out, and I laughed from beginning to end. And so when it did come out on DVD, I had to have it. Bought it. I've seen it a bunch of times since then, and it's always a fun time. And of course, if you're a ball player or you watch a lot of basketball, you know one thing's for certain is that Woody Harrelson really is a pretty good ball player, and he's a better ball player than Wesley. If you see this, I'm sorry, but that's what it looks like. Number three is a movie that most of you haven't heard of. This is another basketball documentary, and this is about a player named. I'm sorry. Let me find the name here. His nickname is Booger, and that's all I'll ever remember. And I have to find his full name. He goes by the name of Booger, and this is called Soul in the Hole. It's a documentary about him. Another playground legend in New York, Brooklyn kid, and just see some of the stuff that he does from the age of 7 and back in the 90s when he was doing it, 80s and 90s when he was doing it. He was way ahead of every other kid out there at the time. And then it follows him through high school and some of the street ball tournaments he was playing in, and even when he finally finds a place to play college, he gets in and out of trouble. So it's a really compelling documentary. He has a father figure in here who they follow more close, who really they tell the story a lot through his eyes, and it's a really compelling documentary. So if you have a chance to see it, if you come across it, and you're a basketball fan, take some time, sit down and watch Soul in the Hole. I'm gonna warn you, this is not one to have the kids in the room with. There's a lot of cussing going on in here, a lot of profanity, but it's worth it. This is a great documentary. My number two is a movie that just got released on Criterion by the Criterion Collection not long ago. It's for my family. I've talked about this on. I did the battle for 4K D-Ray, the movie collection battle, and I talked about this the first time I did it. And I've talked about it. I still write reviews sometimes on a blog, and I talk about it there. But that movie's Love and Basketball. This is one my wife and I, we went and saw way back back when it came out. Went to the theaters and saw it. We loved it. Had a good time with it. We watched it probably a dozen, maybe more times over the years. We've shown our kids this movie. So this is a movie that was big as far as our relationship goes. It not anything that directly impacted our relationship. I don't want to make it like, this movie's that great, but it is something that we bonded over through the years. And this is a great movie if you haven't seen it, Love and Basketball. And finally, I'm getting to my number one. Now my number one, I've seen some polarizing opinions on. Some people love this movie, some people hate this movie. I'm obviously in the love it camp. It helps that it's by my favorite director of all time, Mr. Spike Lee, and that is He Got Game with Mr. Denzel Washington and Ray Allen playing the lead character, basketball star Ray Allen. And Allen is not the greatest actor, but you can see him improving as the movie goes on. He gets better as the movie goes on, and by the end of it, he's actually selling his character. He's selling the emotions that he needs to. And Denzel is Denzel. He does what he does. And in this movie, though, Spike Lee really is the star of the movie because not only does he get the performance out of Denzel, and he pulls the performance out of Ray Allen by the end of it. But he also this movie has a score that is probably his best as far as I'm concerned. It has lots of different things going on. He's got the hip hop, he's got the classical, he's got the jazz, and he puts them, fuses them all in there seamlessly. And then the story just works, and the father-son theme just kind of speaks to me. So that's why this is my number one basketball movie of all time. That's He Got Game. If you haven't seen it, obviously go check it out. I'm gonna stop there. That's all the basketball movies I have. Let me know down in the comments what are some of your favorite basketball movies, or tell me how bad a job I did. Just don't be rude about it, and we can have a good discussion about that. So yeah, do all that YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.